You can see this. You can see the screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe I could do a full screen view of this one. Is that better?
Yeah.
There we are. So yes, we know of the quote about listening with the ears, but the very first impression that I had about listening was that it often surprises people when an expert wants to listen to a non-expert like me. Um, and I think for me, the most surprising of all, we kind of take it for granted, was actually at Pope Francis's first address. When he first came out, everyone was there in St. Peter's Square. Everyone was there waiting to cheer him, waiting for his blessing. And the first thing he does is ask people to pray for him. This is a complete reversal of my expectations anyway. It's not something that I expected at all from a new pope. People were there, they're waiting to be blessed, but here it is, someone from the ends of the earth who would say, pray for me. The PDF has a link to the the actual video, but that was a wake up call for me to kind of say, oh, this Pope, this Holy Father, he's repositioning. He's not in the usual position. He's expecting something very different from us. So for me, listening is actually saying something, right? So for me, when Dr. Maggie wants to listen to me, he, just from the background, someone who's a NLP expert in coaching and listening, I have nothing to add to Dr. Maggie and how best to listen. But in demonstrating this, I think it's really quite significant for people like us who works in the media, who work in the who works for media for the church as well. In that, when we are doing our work, our mission, it is not a simple function of information. It is not a simple function of a 9 to 5 job. We're part of Signis. We're part of the church. What we're doing has greater meaning than Reuters and CNN, than AFP. So the irony is that one of the, if we were talking from the journalistic point of view, one of the journalists that I followed and very much, I mean, I idolize him as a storyteller, is the late Anthony Bourdain. In that when he goes to tell a story, when he goes there, he really does listen. I think for me, he's the ultimate listener. In order to tell the stories of the people that he goes to meet, he be with them. He respect their position. He reverses. He doesn't come across as being someone who's authoritative. He's there to explore. He's there to really take in and listen. So this is when he was offered a rather unappetizing dish by a Namibian tribe. So he says, "What am I going to do? Refuse him, embarrass him in front of his people, look ungrateful? That would change the whole tenor of the relationship." It's something that, for me, is, it tells you you have to be putting yourself at risk. You have to open yourself to change. Now, again, there's in the PDF, I've got more of the link that you can actually go and read through that. So I'm not going to read through that in this one. But there is this sense, I think you can't avoid, and I think being a journalist, sometimes you feel like you've seen a lot of things. You may feel that you have the context more than other people. And sometimes you go somewhere and you think you're kind of leaping down. You know, other people will try to say, oh, this is a small perspective, but I have a much bigger perspective. But actually, I think for a lot of people, when you're listening, sometimes you feel like you're leaping down. And when you're leaping down, it's often scarier. If you imagine yourself jumping down, imagine yourself climbing up. Leaping down, you have less control, you have more uncertainty. With climbing up, you have a lot more, you can see more, you can slow down more. And for me, this is my journey as a developing journalist. I feel like if I'm learning from someone who I consider, to be an expert, I feel safer, right? I feel safer, and I feel like I can go at my own pace. But when you're trying to listen and learn from someone who's considered to be younger, less experienced, less knowledgeable, to really listen, I think that is quite a scary thing. And one of the experience that I just want to share with you in this one. As I said, that I can see in the talks today, there's lots of people sharing what I think would be best practice. My session is not. My session is the attitude. I'm just sharing that we did try. We had and today actually is the first day that we are publishing the story. Is that we were listening to children, and it was a real leap of faith. So what have we been trying to do? We're letting children on LiCAS News tell the stories of those who are living on the fringe of society in Asia. So it started off with a story about children working in the gold mines in the Philippines. Again, there's a link there, but the focus for this one was the story of the children, but I wanted the children to tell the stories themselves. So the next part of the project was that I asked children to tell the story of people ordinary people, but living extraordinary lives, and trusting them with the narrative. And my experience of that was scary. So I'm going to share a different screen to this one, but I will show you. Sorry, my apologies for croakiness here. I'm going to, share this one. Where is it? Okay. Going to. Sorry, I'm just sharing the wrong screen. My apologies. My COVID fog brain is letting me down somewhat. Sorry, please bear with me a moment. I have it on the other slide. Okay, are you able to see this one?
Yeah.
Yep, so living through it all. So this one is our experience. It's a story, part of a series on listening with the heart through generations. So these are stories done by 11 to 13-year-olds that we have not edited at all. And they talk of those who live on the fringe of society in Asia and how they found strength and inspiration to endure through the decades. I won't read through the stories, but what we ask them to do is tell the story, but also reflect on their experience. And what I found was that I didn't realize how much I would learn from these children. They were 11 to 13-year-olds, and they have this perception. They have this such rich ability to listen that I didn't realize that my ears were not as open. I thought I was open as a journalist. I thought I could see the stories. Thought I could pull the stories out. But these kids taught me that there really is the ears to the heart, and they made that leap to say this is something that they're going to go and allow these stories to change them, to change their identity, to learn from them. And I think if there's something I want to share with the participants today, is that if it's the really listening and opening experience, it is not passive. It is quite identity changing. And if you have the same experience as these stories, it does feel like leaping down in a good way. And I hope that from this Signis study day, you would find stories, you would find inspiration. And I think what Pope Francis has asked us to do at first, when it says, oh, we just listen, actually it is an immensely active and an immensely open gesture. And I hope that through this COVID brain fog, I have said something useful somewhat to this group. And I thank you very much for inviting me today.
Thank you, Dr. Peter. That was a wonderful keynote speech. And quickly, if I'm allowed to share some points, listening is not hearing, not passive but active. And even Pope, before he wants to speak, he wants to listen to the others. Leaping down is scarier than climbing up. And you said that let's listen to the children first. And then finally you said, are we listening to the poor, the poorest of the poor? You set a wonderful note, wonderful base, wonderful foundation for us to discuss during the entire day and one more hour tomorrow. Thank you, Dr. Peter, for your wonderful keynote speech.